I can't say how thrilled I am to be here and to see so many people here celebrating International Women's Day, and to be able to talk with such a distinguished panel about something that's very close to my heart. We've talked a lot about diversity, and for me, that's diversity in every form, because when you get diversity, you get magic. And I think as a larger organization that I work in, having the magic, the pixie dust from startups in terms of their agility, their innovation and their ideas is just such a benefit. And I think the more we can encourage us to get closer together as a community, the better for us all. So I'm privileged and delighted to be able to introduce our panel. Our first Dublin Commissioner for Startups and an incredibly successful entrepreneur in her own right, Niamh Bushnell. Absolutely. A very brave man who has been involved in every part of the business when it comes to startups and is now the CEO of Startup Ireland, Owen Costello.
Thank you.
And co-founder of Highland and now head of development at Social Entrepreneurs Ireland, Lucy Masterson. So all very welcome and thank you. Niamh, I might start with you. You've been in the role of Commissioner since October last year. What are your initial thoughts now, a fair few months in, about the strength of the Ireland startup community?
Well, I took up the role because I could see there was massive strength in the community here in Dublin for startups. I came back from 16 years in New York, and as people in the audience probably know, there's a pretty strong startup scene over there. So that was kind of where I grew up in the startup scene. But I was coming back to Dublin a lot during that time, during the last couple of years, and seeing the scene here really build. Every single time I came home, every 6 months or so I was coming home, and I would see another kind of gigantic step forward in terms of the potential of the startups here, the fantasticness of the pitches, the quality and capabilities of those companies to really be global companies. And I thought, you know what, there's a real momentum building in Dublin that's very, very interesting. And with the size of Dublin and with the density that's there, it's kind of an intimate density and an intimate scale. There's huge potential for the city to be on the global map and to be an important place for startups, technology, creativity, innovation. So when the job came up, I was literally, busy away doing my thing. I had my startup, Idris, which is still going strong without me, surprise, surprise. This email came in about this job, and I thought, you know what, this is the right time. And I have some of the skills, hopefully, that are needed to take this to the next level. And more than anything else, I want to be part of this cool thing that's happening in Dublin right now, rather than being here in a scene that's also wonderful. But I felt like I could really make an impact over here and just be part of what's going on. And so it's been wonderful to be back and be part of it. And if anything, I'm more excited now than I was before,
Fantastic. And you talk about the momentum that we've got in the startup community. And Owen, you've kind of been at the heart of that. And I know from Startup Ireland's perspective, you've got Vision 2020, which is the ambition to make Ireland a global hub for startups. Not to be too rosy about we have got great momentum, but do we still have challenges to achieve that vision? It's only 5 years away, 4 years away. Have we got key challenges that we need to...
Well, first of all, Vicky, I'm delighted to be here. It's a great opportunity to talk about the goal of making Ireland a global startup hub, and it's a privilege to be with such a great panel. Yes, there are challenges. There's fragmentation in the sector. As Niamh says, we've got a great momentum, and the various threshold players are in place, but we need to start bringing them together and create that density. So if you look at other startup ecosystems that are in the top ranking in the world, say Tel Aviv, it's a city half the size of Dublin. They've got other multinationals doing their mission-critical R&D there. They've got universities that are in the top 50 in the world. We need to start looking at how we can replicate that in Dublin, in Cork, in Limerick, and Galway, and create centres of excellence, internationally competitive startup hubs in each of our cities, reflecting the industries we're strong in: agri-food, agri-tech, business services, ICT, biopharma, and medical devices.
Yeah, so that goes back to some of the themes we've already heard this morning about it's not just about the startup community, it's much broader, and we all have a role to play in that. And Lucy, sometimes when we talk about startups, we kind of think of the, kind of tech startups that scale up quickly, or 20-year-olds on skateboards and just being really cool, right? So what's the difference, if any, in terms of social entrepreneurship?
Okay, so everyone knows what an entrepreneur is, right? But when you say, I'm a social entrepreneur, people kind of have a bit of a confused look about them. So that's challenge number one. So just to clear it up, a social entrepreneur has all the hallmarks of a commercial entrepreneur. I suppose what drives us, though, is to recognize what parts of society are stuck, and then we go about coming up with highly innovative, dynamic ways to get it unstuck. So that's kind of in a nutshell. Now, one of the big challenges social entrepreneurs face is that the market we serve tend to be some of the most disadvantaged, underprivileged people on the fringes of society. So how do you monetize around that? How do you scale a business plan around that? And it's really difficult unless you have the support of government, of philanthropy, and very importantly, of the corporate business community to bring that expertise and funding to the table when those bold social innovators come up and step up with ideas. So that, I would see, is the key challenges that we face.
So getting that blend, as we said, when I go back to the magic of that corporate knowledge with kind of having an idea, certainly around in the social space, but just bringing those different disciplines together to create something cool. And we're going to have a great opportunity to actually hear some of those success stories later on, which would be fantastic. One of the things, Niamh, you talked about momentum and sort of being in New York and sort of seeing how we were progressing in Ireland, and obviously you totally stormed the New York tech scene.
That is completely not true.
Totally stormed the New York tech scene. So the Americans are pretty good at marketing themselves at home and abroad. Are we good at that? Do we need to be better?
We could be very good at it, and one-on-one we are excellent at it. We're probably the best at it when it comes to this intimate conversation here. Yeah. But when you ask people to stand up on the rooftops and say, this is my ambition, this is my global dream, and this is the journey I'm going to take you all along to get me there and to get us all there, we have a problem doing that. We're not used to that. It's not in our DNA, but it's something that we can get used to. It's something we can practice. I think, today, the world is all about connectivity and being connected, whether it's virtually or physically, and customers want to be on a journey when they take on a product or a service. They want to be part of that world. If you're a category leader and you're going out and talking about, your vision for life and your vision for the quality of people's lives who use your products, that's what people are interested in. That's what inspires them. That's what drives them forward. And so we don't do that well. We do what I used to do, and I couldn't believe when I did it, because when you were an entrepreneur, you kind of make all the mistakes and you're deaf, dumb and blind, and other people then kind of point out to you that actually you're doing what you told me as my mentor not to do. We talk about functionality. We talk about, we talk about the everyday as opposed to the vision. We're more comfortable talking about the everyday, and we've got to take people on that vision. The train leaves the station, you've got to have those people on it. And I think that's something that we can get there. We have the storytelling skills, we have the smarts, we have the charm, and more importantly than anything, maybe we've got the stories. We've got great potential companies and products and services. So all of the things are there. We just need to find that find that storytelling, that big vision. People were talking earlier on, some of the panel, about being brave. It's kind of part of that, and the confidence to just say, this is where I'm going, come with me. It's going to be great. Yeah.
And that confidence piece. You mentioned Tel Aviv, but if we want to be a global hub, what should we be focusing on as our differentiator from, for example, from other European countries? Why should people come to Dublin? What is it about, being Irish?
Well, I think, first of all, what I'd say is, in terms of us, our ambition and our goal, we need look no further than the women's rugby team in Ireland. The scale of achievement they've had in the last number of years, they've outshone the men. They won all the games in winning the Grand Slam.
I know, I'm English, you see, so rugby's a very sore topic for me right now.
So, and if you look what was behind that achievement, it was no fluke. You know, the participation rate in rugby has gone up year by year, so you're getting more and more people participating and working their way up to the elite level. You've got a much higher level of ambition. It's a much more professional game, and as a result of that level of professionalism and ambition, the win ratio has gone from 30% 10 years ago to 80%. We've just come off on the men's side a fantastic series of games. And then the other aspect to it is bringing in international talent in. At the management squads within rugby, 45% of them are international. We need to start doing that in terms of the whole startup sector and bringing that all together. We have the threshold factors in place in Ireland, and as Niamh says, we need a narrative to pull that all together. So for me, that narrative is looking at essentially what it means to be Irish. We are #1 country in the world in the Good Country Index compiled by Simon Anholt. That means we love participating and sharing other people's success. We are the #1 country in the world of problem solvers. We go around the world solving other people's problems, be it through our NGOs, through our social entrepreneurs, be it through our multinationals, Ryanair bringing people closer, Ding bringing people closer through communications, Glanbia helping feed the world, and Icon helping test medical and other pharmaceutical products around the world. So we're a nation of problem solvers. We love sharing in other people's success. And the third essential characteristic that's essential to a startup is we always back the underdog. We are a nation who will back the underdog, and startups are the quintessential underdog. So we have the national characteristics to make Ireland a global startup hub. We just need everyone here today. We need all the key politicians, the stakeholders in the sector, the multinationals to pull together towards that vision of making Ireland a global startup hub.
Great. And Lucy, if we were to turn to sort of women's role in startups, and we were about to spotlight 5 exceptional women in terms of entrepreneurs and what they've done in taking something big and bold and actioning that. I mean, do you see, certainly in the area of social entrepreneurs, are women actually leading the way in social entrepreneurship? Or?
Yes and no, in that in Ireland, we are only running at half the rate of our European counterparts. So putting that into numbers, that's 22,000 jobs when it could be 65. That's an annual turnover of our sector of about 1.4 billion when it could actually be triple that. However, of the 9 organisations Social Entrepreneurs Ireland are working with and funding and supporting at the moment, 6 of them happen to have CEOs and founders who are women. Now, I really hate this question in a way because it's simply never asked in our sector. And so it would be amazing to see, I suppose, a status quo where we have that level of equality because, again, 50% of the applications, early startups coming to us every year, and this figure is showing no sign of flatlining, are females, and we just think that's absolutely fantastic. So I think it would be amazing if we could have that kind of level of spotlight in politics and in tech, and I've no doubt that that will come because as the role models come through, we'll hopefully see those numbers coming through.
Yeah. And are we seeing, I mean, Paula mentioned, statistics earlier, before we came on around female participation in high potential startups. Are you seeing that trend? Do you think that's going to accelerate? Do you think we're going to move 30, 40, 50%? Or what do we need to do to really kind of break through? Both Owen?
Yeah, well, I suppose what Startup Ireland are doing very practically is we're putting on a very big, bold event towards the end of this year called the Startup Gathering. And our goal with the Startup Gathering is to send a message out to the world. It'll be the biggest distributed startup event expo in the world. 5 days, 5 cities, 5 industries. And we will be holding and crowdsourcing events. We'll organise a national conference at the start, an inaugural conference for the startup sector, and we'll have a state dinner at the end saying why invest in our startup sector. And in between that, we're crowdsourcing all the events. So it's out to the audience here today, it's out to the public to step up to the mark. It'll be of the sector, for the sector, by the sector. And if you have any events, initiatives, programs, networking events that are around the theme of start, scale, succeed from Ireland, we want to hear from you. And that's the way, by increasing the participation rate, going back to the IRFU and the women's rugby example, increase the participation rate, increase the ambition, and increase the international input into Ireland startup sector will bring all elements of male participation, female participation, and the whole.
And Niamh, do we still? I mean, we talked about it earlier, but do we still need to do something about the gender gap in tech? Because, I mean, are we going backwards on that, or are we actually making progress?
We're not going backwards, but we do need to pierce the veil on tech. You know, I think, you know, the unfortunate thing is that people think that startups are all about big technology, and there is tech, you know, intrinsically a startup is a business that can scale globally using a repeatable model. So what you're thinking is it's not a corner store or a restaurant or something like that that has to kind of, you know, start from 0 to 10 each time it goes. It's something that you do once, that I sell you a product or a service once, and then I can scale that globally. So there is oftentimes, most of the time, technology involved in helping that to scale. But I think the message that I would want people to have is, you know, don't worry about tech. I've been in the startup world for a long time, and I've been quite successful in it. And I am not a technologist at all. You are speaking a different language to the people who are doing your technology, and that takes a lot more time. But it doesn't stop you. If you have an idea and you're interested in doing something, or even if, you know, maybe you don't have an idea, maybe you don't want to be a founder, but maybe you're interested in startups, get involved in a startup that is in an area that is of interest to you. You know, be part of that as a volunteer, if not as an employee. Just get involved, because I think the message is, you don't know the skills that you have. You don't know the capabilities that you have until your back is to the wall and you're forced to go out there and put those skills out there. And I think that's what makes startups very interesting.
And that's a great lead up, because I'm actually just going to pause the panel for a minute. So thank you guys, because we've talked about successful female entrepreneurs, and I'm absolutely delighted to be able to put the spotlight on 5 inspirational women who, as I said, took their idea and have actually gone out there and been brave and done something. So our first spotlight is the CEO and co-founder of Restored Hearing, Rona Toa.
Communication is fundamental to life, and we're on a mission to enable this by eradicating avoidable hearing damage. So we've created 2 products, one to prevent and one to treat this damage. With over 300 million tinnitus sufferers worldwide, the problem of chronic ringing in the ears is a global health issue. And we can treat this ringing in the ears with Sound Relief, our tinnitus sound therapy. All you need to do is log on to restoredhearing.com, plug in a pair of headphones, and listen to our therapy for 5 minutes a day. With a 15% reduction in the severity of your tinnitus in just 1 month, that's faster and for less time per day than any of our competitors. We have had 12,000 people sign up for access to Sound Relief. And this year, we will be launching a physical version of this in a headset, which is currently trialling in the UK's biggest pharmacy chain. But how did these people get their tinnitus? Well, we asked them, and it was from overexposure to loud noise, and from poor hearing protection or not wearing any hearing protection at all. We can fix this. We have combined the effects of high-end electronic headsets with the inexpensiveness of a foam headset. Our smart material works 8 times more effectively than existing standards. This is a retrofit insert for those in construction, oil and gas, and aviation. We're on a mission to eradicate avoidable hearing damage and to enable people to continue to communicate with their loved ones. Thank you.
Thanks, Rona. Our second spotlight, I'd just like to welcome the CEO and co-founder of Connect Again, Jane Renan.
Hi there, I'm Jane. So many of us spend a lot of time in college and school and in our jobs. And during this time, our universities, our schools, our jobs know a lot about us. They know where we live, they know how to contact us. But the problem is we leave and we graduate. And all of a sudden, these institutions went from knowing everything about us to now knowing nothing about us at all. Here at Connect Again, this is what we do. We give the most up-to-date information on alumni back to these institutions. In the last 12 months, we grew from a team of 2 to a team of 8. We have offices both in San Francisco and in Ireland, with customers already in Europe and the US. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane. Our third spotlight is a startup involved in our FinTech Innovation Lab. Please welcome Philippa from Signature.
Hello, my name is Filipe and I am from Portugal. I came to Ireland initially to write my thesis, but I stayed because of Signature, and I'm going to tell you why. One of the slowest and most painful processes that SMEs face is when they need to transfer money in a different currency. Believe it or not, there is no way to do efficient, low-cost cross-currency transactions. If you are an SME dealing with China, your payment options are very limited. Either you use PayPal, which is not broadly accepted, or you make a bank transfer, paying flat fees, exchange fees, and transfer fees. But the real issue is time. You have to wait 3 to 5 working days for the money to reach the Chinese manufacturer, and only then will they schedule production. This is simply not good enough. So at Signature, we want to make it better. For that, we use the blockchain technology, which is the technology behind Bitcoin, to build an international payment system that is more secure, faster, and cheaper than any of the other options available in the market. And thanks to Accenture FinTech Lab, we have received invaluable feedback from senior stakeholders in the financial institutions. I have to say, it's hugely exciting and scary that this innovation is happening right now in this town, and we believe that with your help, Ireland can lead the world in this area. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Our next spotlight was a finalist in Ireland's Best Young Entrepreneur competition and is the CEO of Ishkabir, Becky Butler.
Hi everyone, my name is Becky Butler and my company is Ishkabir. In 2013, the unpredictable weather conditions in this country caused a fodder crisis which cost the farming community over 500 million. We can no longer rely on conventional methods as a means of feeding the world. However, Ishkabir have the solution. We produce hydroponic sprouting crops indoors 365 days of the year. Hydroponics is simply a method of growing crops using water and nutrient solution in a controlled environment. Our unique system produces feed to seed in 7 days. Ishkabir will revolutionise the agricultural, equine and pharmaceutical industries by providing a product that is both cost efficient and reliable. Ishkabir was a finalist in the 2014 IWD competition and is currently in the process of developing a unit which will allow 20 tonnes of feed to be distributed nationwide on a daily basis. Ishkabir aims to be a leading competitor in the feed industry, both at home and abroad, building the company's success on the talented young people in this country. Ishkabir means sustainability, growth, diversification. Ishkabir means feeding the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Becky. Finally, I would like to welcome a woman who is named in Time magazine's Next Generation Leaders series, the CEO and co-founder of Food Cloud, Iseult Ward.
Hi, I'm the co-founder of Food Cloud, Iseult Ward, and I met co-founder Evan O'Brien when I was studying in university in 2012, and we connected over a shared passion for food. We became increasingly aware of the scale and the consequences of the global problem of food waste, and were inspired to take action in Ireland. Within communities across the country, there are businesses throwing away perfectly good food, and literally around the corner there are charities struggling to feed those in need. We decided to create a social enterprise that would connect businesses that had too much food with charities in their communities that had too little through a smartphone app and a website. In October, we launched a pilot with one Tesco store and quickly began to expand. In July, Tesco became our first national partner, and we are now working with over 100 Tesco stores across the country and have pilots with other major retailers and smaller food businesses. In November, we became one of Social Entrepreneurs Ireland's Impact Awardees. And since we launched in October 2013, we have redistributed 4 tonnes of food, the equivalent of over 700,000 meals, to our network of almost 300 charities across the country. We are now redistributing an average of 2 tonnes of food every day. We have a vision for a world where no good food goes to waste. And we are creating partnerships, both nationally and internationally, to ensure that we can achieve our vision. Thank you.
Thank you. So my thanks to 5 exceptional women there. I talked about magic. I hope you got a glimpse of that in terms of their stories. And I'd just like to close with the panel. Owen, you already mentioned Startup Gathering as a way for people to participate and support the startup community. And Niamh, you had a very strong message about participation. Lucy, today is the launch. Tell us more of how people can participate.
I have to stand up for this. Okay. In 30 years from now, when we're all retired, some of us, we do not want to be reading a newspaper article to say that we turned the economy around and we did what we could to just help the needy. We want it to be much bolder than that. We want to leave a legacy that we, as business leaders, transformed Ireland. That is what we want. Is everyone up for that? So when I started Ireland a couple of years ago, it was a very small idea about how we could take on unemployment one job at a time. If it wasn't for the corporate community and my business mentors who believed in me, who believed in the idea enough to invest their time, their money, and their expertise to see that idea get over the line, Ireland would never have happened. I call those people corporate superheroes. And my corporate superheroes who helped me with Ireland, some of you are in this room here today. But I know that there's a whole room full of corporate superheroes just waiting to be asked. So here it is. Today we are launching a campaign called Count Me In. And the entire aim of this campaign is to connect business acumen and leadership and funding and supports to come to the table and help some more social entrepreneurs get their ideas over the line. Sound exciting? It is. So let's do it. Please, everyone, sign up and get on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
Can I just say one very quick word?
We've done out of time. So I'd just like to thank our spotlight presenters and especially our panel, Lucy, Owen and Niamh, for such wonderful insights and really giving us a view of both the ambition for the startup community, but more importantly, how we can all participate and all be part of that success, because success for the startup community is success for us all. I really believe that. And I might just close in terms of the themes that I've heard today. I'm going to steal the words of another great female entrepreneur, Sheryl Sandberg. She said, "Fortune does favour the bold, because when you know what you're capable of, if you don't go forward with it, then you just lose it." So I think let's take the mantle, count me in, startup gathering, get behind the startups, get involved in any way you can, and really not lose those great ideas. So thank you very much to the panel.
Thank you.